And nice that you can experience that as well. You know, if you went to uni down here, it'd be a very different experience, wouldn't it?
I never would have done that.
Yeah.
No, I need to get away. I love being on Cambridge isn't that far, so like if there's something that I've forgotten at home, it's not that far. It's like an hour and a half on the train, which is not far at all.
Yeah, so it's quite nice because you get to have your space. Plus, we don't, you know, it's like it's not that infrequently that we see you, kind of thing. Yeah, I remember one time I was at home and it's just like, and you said you're coming down. It's just like, yeah, we got that.
Yes, I'm gonna go that way as well because I've got one daughter. She's no longer at home as well now. She's 28. So, excuse me. What was it like for you with the empty nest type thing afterwards?
Do you know what?
Were you like secretly crying when she'd like going into her bedroom?
Of course she was. do you know what? It's like when we dropped her off at uni, and it's just like, you know, she's taking us round, you know, emptied the car and put everything in her room. Everything was fine. And then it was time to just like leave her there. And it's just like, I knew I was going to be tearful. And then she was strong. And then like her dad started to get tearful. And then she's like, oh Dad, I'm really sorry about that. That's like, where these confessions coming from? Everybody, like, you know, the three of us were crying. She's like, and you know she's going to be fine. And she's a little bit older than the average student. But still, it was actually quite hard to just like leave her there. And then when I got home, I was fine because like her room wasn't empty. She hadn't taken
everything.
Yeah, she hadn't taken everything. So like a couple of friends had said to me that, you know, them not going off to uni is very different to when they finished uni and then they've moved out and they've taken every single thing that they have. And then the room is just a shell. So I think because I know she's coming back, she's not that gone. She's not like, she's here for 6 weeks now because at Cambridge their breaks are so like it's a really good length of time to be able to catch up. But saying that, when she came back the first year after the first break, I was just like, it was a hard transition because it's like I remember actually crying because it's like, you know, we weren't on the same wavelength. We were just like, why is she so short? Why aren't we getting on? And what it was literally just like the transition from like she's been living independently, and like now she's coming home and like it's like almost like I'm a child again. I'm on the other side, I'm really happy to see like my baby again, kind of thing.
Yeah, she's not your baby anymore.
But and that was part of it. So right when I had like because it was to the point where I thought I was going to have to actually say to Mummy, you're going to have to like take her for a couple of days because I don't know what's going on here, kind of thing. And I was like, that was like a really, really low day for me. And I remember crying. And then I was just like, I literally had to go to her and it's like, what's the problem, kind of thing. And we had we hugged it out. And then ever since that, it's been fine. So it's
she's gone away to uni and she's changed. She's growing and changing, isn't she? And you're at home waiting.
That's exactly what
you're in limbo
it was.
back at home, aren't you? Waiting for her to come back again.
So I think like subconsciously, because I knew she was going, I think maybe because like I always say, like I'm literally like a marketer's dream, or like that avatar. So you know, you're at a certain age, you go back to school, you start looking at what am I doing with my life, and it's just like all of this kind of stuff. So I think because I knew she was going, I was going to need to do something with myself.
I was going to say, as a businesswoman, what do you do when you're you know, an empty nester then? What did you do?
So because I was like right in the midst of studying. When did you go? October. So October I'd left my full-time job when I was a project manager, and then it's just like, because it's like that kind of work, it's like you never really turn off. And I had like a big project at the time, which I was like, I really loved the project and I put everything into it. But I remember like even when we were June, even when we were on holiday, I was like, I wanted to do a couple of things, and she's like, she's like, Mum, it's flight mode time. I was like, I've got to do this thing. And it's just like, that isn't, you know, and I know a lot of project managers kind of live that way, kind of thing. It's just like, or you know, like lots of kind of, you know, senior jobs. And I wouldn't say my job was particularly senior in that world, but it was a lot of responsibility. And I just thought, this is not how I want to live. And I just
Do you reckon
thought,
that helped you get over the transition of her going there?
Yeah,
Having
definitely.
that distraction?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So it's just the studying, and then it's just like, okay, I'm going to start up this business. And between doing those things, and because I've been an employee all my life,
Yeah.
it's like
You were learning.
Yeah, it's a completely different world. So,
Yeah.
you know, not to say I didn't have time to miss her, I didn't have time to wallow in it. Because there was just like, okay, I put myself in this position now I must do these things.
Yes.
So every day.
Do you know what, that is fantastic, because there was a lot of listeners who are experiencing it now. You know, their children have gone off, but their young adults have gone off in September, October, and we're now in November, and these ladies are going to be going through exactly the same thing. So, you know, the courses for us are a fantastic way of, do you want to be your own boss, master your pitch, things like that.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this.
They're going to be a good source of distraction for these ladies to go, do you know what? Do I need to be employed? Do I want to be my own boss?
Exactly.
Do I want to take control, like you're taking control of your life? Do I want to? Because we put our lives on hold as well for our children when they're younger, and we don't go for all the promotions, we don't go for everything that we want to go through because we've got responsibilities, haven't we? So you hold yourself back a bit.
Well, that's the thing, because like when she said to me once, it's like years ago as well, she's just like, you know, Mum, I remember that one time I wish you play with me a lot more. And it's one of the complaints that, you know, a former partner used to say as well. It's just like, you're always on the laptop. But in my mind, I was trying to do so much work because I was trying to work towards like, you know, promotions and trying to get to a certain place. And like, you know, so it took me a long time to kind of get the work-life balance thing correct. So I'm not going to necessarily say that was workplaces. Some of it is your own discipline and learning about yourself. So it was like lack of discipline in certain ways. Workload and trying to navigate certain things, and so looking back, and I always say to like new parents and like other people, it's just like, I know you think work is important, but there's these things that they will remember when they grow older.
That time again,
You can't get, you know, and it's one of those things as well, childcare. So back when she was younger, and parents are going through it now, it's just like, you can't wait for the, you know, the younger years to pass, because as soon as they hit nursery and primary school, now I don't have to pay for those childcare costs. So because you're stressed about that, then you don't focus as much as you could or should on enjoying those really early years, and that's such a shame. So I mean, if I had it to do it again, would I? You know, you don't have hindsight. I don't know if I would do it differently, but you know, if I could with hindsight, most definitely some of those things, it's just like, it wasn't necessary.
I was a single parent when my daughter, I think she was about 5 or 6, and I had to bring her into work. I had very good bosses that let me bring her in. So she came in from the first week all the way through. I had various bosses and contracts that I did. I was very, very lucky that I could bring her in. So Natasha learned how to do tax returns, she learned how to do expenses, she was topping her year in maths, but we used to go in quite early, but we'd go off about 2 or 3 o'clock, and we'd go to London Zoo. So we bought annual passes just so that she could have her time, because it was her school holidays. And
That's nice.
but it meant that I could drive to town, she was safe in the car, or would get the training, and then we would go off and do museums, we would go off and do, you know, the adventure type stuff. So she felt as if she was getting 6 weeks holiday type thing, but I also got time to spend with her. Bosses weren't too pleased, but they knew that they got a great measure by letting me come in and be flexible like that too. So any advice for empty nesters going through what you went through?
Look at it in a more positive light. If you're not already, just like now you've got this extra time to focus on yourself. It's just like literally just sit down and have some time with yourself and just think, what is it that I want to do now? Because it's like it's
a long time now, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's like you're an empty nest, but you've got so much of your life, God willing, left.
Yes.
It's just like I can now literally make, you know, almost any choice. Because the whole thing about starting up a business, I mean, God willing, it will do well, you know. But you don't. But you know, what's the statistic? Like 94% of businesses fail. So I'm not focusing on that. But you know, with a statistic like that, and when your children or child is young, it's you're much less likely, I guess, to kind of take that kind of risk. Yeah. Now that she's like, you know, she's pretty much self-sufficient. She told you about the mentoring, so she's and you know, so I know she's okay. So now I can take this risk, and if it doesn't work out, maybe I might be in slight trouble. but
you can always go and get another contract.
I could, but I know she's okay. Whereas I was, as an empty nester, just to answer your question, I would just say, literally, just think, what is it I want to do with myself? Because what it was, because I listened to a lot of podcasts and stuff like that and stuff as well. Like there was, I forget the guy's name, and he was just saying, he was quoting somebody. He's like, the definition of hell is your last day on earth is the person you became, meeting the person you could have become. And that has never left me. And when I heard that, I was just like, okay, I love this job, but I've always wanted to know what else is there.
And sometimes a job is just a job, isn't it?
Sometimes
it pays bills.
And this is the thing, I was just like, if I take away the money, I'm just like, I've been doing this for a while, obviously there's loads more to learn, but it's like, if I do something different and put myself on a completely different trajectory, where could life go? And that curiosity is what got me to just like, so I was just like, and like every day when you're running your own business, you know, you have like a lot of like, we don't call them bad days anymore, we have lots of character building days. And sometimes
you have to go through those, don't you?
And like a lot of more character building days than good days. But it's just like, and again, when one of those things I say as well, it sounds really silly. It's just like, when you're not in that office 9 to 5 or at home if you're at COVID or whatnot, when you're not in the office, it's like there's a whole world out there, because obviously the economy is not just those of us in the office. And like, you know, if you go into B&I, or if you go into other marketing stuff, or if you're just out and about, like, you know, I've got post notices going to the post office, you just never know where your day is going to take you and who you're going to meet, and it's very, very different. So and being in control, you know, they say when you run your own business, actually, you know, your time isn't really your own, and like all your clients are just like more bosses.
Don't let them steal your time.
Well, this is one of those things, but the thing, like, you know, like Mum and the Curtains, like the other day, is just like before, I'd be like, okay, how many days of annual?
Because she thinks you're off, doesn't she?
This is the thing.
So you've got time.
Yes,
you're off.
She does think this, but like before with the office, you'd be like, okay, how many days of annual leave do I have? Blah blah blah. Can I go with Mum? Can I do this? Can I go there? And it's just like, here, it's like, all right, if I don't do this, I'm not going to make, you know, I might not get the money this month, kind of thing. But it's nice to be able to say, okay, Mum, like, what day of the week are you going to be doing? And I can plan around that. And like, so it's the time freedom is different. It's flexible. The time freedom isn't necessarily more. But the flexibility is perfect. That's different. And that's what I love.
So seeing your mum go through that now as well. See, she's not here. She's not in this interview anymore. What would you hope that your mum? What would you plan for your mum over the next 10 years? What would you see her? She's got no choice in the matter. You're allowed to draw out what she does for the next 10 years now. What would be your plans for her?
That's a brilliant question.
With your head.
I'd say my loose plan would just be like continue with this like parties, like being the best one in the whole of London, you know, like people come to her, and you know, she's got her company, she's got the people that she needs to, like, you know, like actually do things more efficiently, so like just a bigger team essentially to, like, you know, kind of delegate and stuff. Then, you know, she'd be going on holiday, like, I don't know, every other month, you know, for free. She'd have like a private.
So that would give her freedom to step away from the office. Because she's got the team there.
And then just that freedom to go and do all this stuff. And obviously I know like both my parents have made like a lot of sacrifices for me and stuff, like when I was a child, and probably still to this day to some extent, even though, you know, I kind of get on with my own stuff, but kind of not necessarily reclaiming that time, so I don't, because that's not really how time works, but, you know, just doing this type of stuff that you would have wanted to do, whether that's, I don't know, instrument lessons or singing lessons, if that's something that you wanted to do. Obviously didn't have the money, because, you know, and to eat and stuff like that, but kind of just doing all the stuff that you had to put on hold for your child, essentially. So whatever that looks like,
Yeah.
I just write it down and let mum do that essentially. Yeah.
My daughter's bedroom is now a state-of-the-art gym, and
Is it?
yeah.
She keeps saying she can turn that into a walk-in closet.
I've been joking about that for years. I didn't do it, but you did it.
Yeah, I did it.
Oh.
Yeah. It's got £100 wallpaper, wallpaper on the wall. Oh yeah. It's your freedom now. You can do whatever you want with that bedroom once it's empty.
Okay.
That's not in my.
But you already have your spare room at your grandma's, isn't it?
That's true.
Yeah, it's not spare room like Mum was just lady said. This is Shea's room.
Yeah, I can have two.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever kind of mum would have wanted to do when I was younger. Just go ahead.
And that's hard to know, isn't it? Once that's happened, it's hard to think, right, okay, what do I want to do now?
I didn't find it hard though, you know.
Did you not?
No, because the thing is, it's like, you know, I always say that it's important to tell people stuff whilst they're here.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you now, there isn't really anything that you stop me from doing because I didn't know what I wanted to do until like in the last few years. So like, you know, like the singing or the salsa or whatever it is, I didn't put any...
You sing your salsa as well, do you?
Well, I was doing the salsa classes, but then I had to stop because of time and stuff. So these are things that I will pick up again. But there's many different salsa classes. There's so many different salsa classes.
I've dabbled in that,
yeah, places you wouldn't even realise. Yeah,
Wow.
so this is something when, you know, I've got to focus on these kind of things because like it's so easy to get distracted and go to so many different places. Yeah, so I will pick that up again once I've got time.
Oh, wow.
But it's only in the last few years of like, actually, I would like to do this. So like a salsa class, I've never been brave enough when I was younger to actually say, to put myself in that kind of space. So you haven't stopped me from doing anything. I think the empty nester thing is just like giving like breathing space to take stock of what it is I want to do.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
No, I hear it, but like even like, I mean, I feel like you like traveling.
I do like traveling.
Exactly, like even, and I hear what you're saying, but even like stuff like traveling, like I really like traveling. If I had to give that up for a child, obviously I'd look after the child, of course.
I worked a lot and didn't travel
Exactly,
enough.
so like even stuff like
didn't
having
take
just, like,
holidays.
opportunities.
Are you doing it now though?
No, I've never.
Are you going to start
55
doing it
now.
now?
I've worked for 37 years, and I've never taken a 2-week holiday ever.
What?
Because my bosses didn't like 2-week holidays, and even now, I've worked for myself for 26 years of the 37.
But your partner, so you've got somebody to cover you. So why haven't you taken that time?
Do you know how much stress it was to take the week off? For me, not for these guys. I was just like, oh my god, what am I supposed to do for a week?
You just have to like disable her email account or something.
We gave you a week, didn't you?
Yeah.
You had a week.
I've had a week. I've had
year.
1 week off this year.
We told her she had to have a week off.
What did you do with the week?
What did I do with the week? I was at home going.
No,
I did go away. Yeah.
You're your own person.
No, because it's true because like if you go away and like you know you're on the beach.
I can't do.
I'm with you. So I can do it for like 2-3 days in a row. I can like be on the beach and like after a while it's just like, but I'm just on the beach.
It's almost
I
like
need
not
to do
enough,
something.
isn't it?
It's just like there needs to be something more. But like even if you're not a beach person, just like because it was called
There's walking.
No, but like you know, there's like lots of like different excursions. Even if you just like book a driver to just take you around the island or wherever you are, but it's so important to just take some.
It is.
Because like the first 2, 3, maybe even 4 days, maybe even 5 days with you, for you to kind of disengage. So maybe that's why you probably need 2 weeks, maybe, because by that second week. You get to a point where you must relax, don't you think?
Exactly.
Yeah, so
I'm jumping on the plane back early.
I've got no problem going away and lounging for a week.
Yeah, but
doing nothing.
But it was you that told me as well. Like when we were going away, it's like take your book with you. To write stuff down and like Shea took it.
And I always do that. I always take like an empty notebook because the minute I rest or the minute I'm stopping my normal routine,
that's when ideas.
That's when ideas come.
So that's what you do with your 2 weeks. You leave the laptop alone, but you take your book. Well, Shea took it one step further.
It's like attached to me. It's like your phone, isn't it? It's just like I do like
one
whole day a week away from my phone.
Yeah, but that's what you're
Yeah.
probably gonna have to get rid of the app of your emails on your phone as
Yeah.
well. But what Shea said to me as well, she's like, if you don't have a notebook, voice record. And
Yes.
she's so right.
Oh, I'm a paper girl though. I like big A3 empty sheets of paper.
But I kid you not though, like from the time that it took to go from the kitchen into the living room
Yeah.
to to get to the notepad to write
Yeah.
the thought, I forgot the thought.
That's an A3.
Whereas if I have the phone is
Yeah.
always right there. I'm just like, just hit that, just talk.
I know,
Yeah,
I
it
repeat
works.
to myself. So I've got pads all over the house.
Oh,
I've got them
have
on
you?
the side of my
Okay.
bed. I've got them in the sofa. I've got them everywhere in the kitchen. There's A3 pads.
Oh,
all
that's
over.
another way. Okay, yeah,
Yes.
because I just have
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have like the one single one in a
Yeah.
particular
Oh, no,
spot.
no.
Yeah, so by the
There's
time I
no-
get there,
I love
sometimes-
stationers. Yeah. If I wake up 3 o'clock, I wake up 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, always, and I have to. If I can show you the pads
Yeah.
that I'm going to have to show you before you leave today, there's writings galore. It's like someone takes over my body, and they're writing, and then I can put it away, turn the light off,
and go to
to
sleep.
Yeah,
I've been told that, and like,
Yeah.
I learned the hard way because I thought I've woken
You
up.
can't keep it in your head.
Yeah, well, I've learned
Yeah.
the hard way. It's like I've woken up and it's just like, that's a brilliant idea. And it's
Yes.
like, and then I repeat it to myself and then I go back to
Yeah,
sleep.
yeah.
In the morning it's just like, oh
You
my
forgot.
God.
Yeah, pads by your bed, pads in the kitchen, everywhere. Put pads.
So, just another question for you, Shea. Have your views on society and politics shifted since starting your course?
Definitely, and I think the fact that I took a gap year helped as well, because during my gap year I was doing like a lot of, I would call them community projects, but they would be like projects in different countries, like around Europe. So for example, I did one in Ireland about storytelling, very random.
Okay.
And then I did one in Portugal about like sustainability. I think that was my favourite one. But the point is that people from Portugal would be on the course as well. And the point is I'd be learning about a lot of different cultures, but from actual people. Because when you go on holiday, you'll learn a bit about the culture, but it's more like the beaches,
Yes.
and like that type of stuff. But when you actually go to the country and with people who know the area, like their families have lived there for however long, then you learn more about it. That's a lot of my traveling is going to visit my friends in different places, and even now when I do travel, most of the time it's visiting my friends that I made in the gap year. When my birthday in September, I went to go and visit my friend in Greece because it was her birthday in September as well, and it gets like free accommodation. It's great. It's great, just pay for the flight. But point being, when I now started HSPS, part of the two parts that I really do like are anthropology and politics, but like more of the international relations side. So with anthropology, that like social anthropology in particular, that really shows you that the things that we take for granted, like I'd say in the UK, but in the West, generally speaking, is not. It's really, really different in different places. So my favourite example is kinship. So like who I constitute as my mother is the person who's birthed me, and who I constitute as my father. That in terms of the words that I use, be like the sperm and egg have literally created this child, and that is what constitutes kinship, and that's why I'm related to my mother. But in different areas, it's like what will constitute as the mother might not necessarily be that biology. So for example, in like this place in Malaysia somewhere, that is technically your child because you birthed it, but in order to sustain that relationship, you need to like breastfeed, or you have to like feed the child, or that relatedness will actually leave. So this is me like rambling about anthropology, which I love. But point being, that has kind of like changed my view of the world, like things that we take for granted, and the fact that in the UK we look at like biology so much. Like, why do we do that? Because in even things like surrogacy and adoption, that kind of blurs the lines, even like in a UK context, of what would we constitute as family. Point being, the idea of anthropology has changed my idea on like how I see the world, essentially, in terms of like, the things that I might be taking for granted every day in my life. And then in terms of politics, I'd say the international relations side a bit more. One thing that I'm really glad they teach in first year, like the whole concept of international politics in first year, or a major part of it is to show that it adds a bit of history as well, but in the sense that in terms of like Europe and the West being like the dominant factor in world politics today, that's not how it always was, and it's only really been since like the 1800s. Like we had like lots of like empires in like the East, like Chinese empires are really big, and then like African empires are really big, and like the Europeans were on par with the African empires at one point in time, and the Europeans weren't necessarily always in power in that sense. And it's, as I said, it's only very recently and like world politics is always changing. So I think learning that and in that context, it kind of showed me that the world is always changing, and what we look at now, we think, oh, you know, like the world is so great or bad or however we think about it, it's going to change, you know. And like, yeah, in terms of like European dominance, if that's what you want to call it, or if that's what you think about, whatever you think is dominant is going to change, because that is just how the world works. So I think it's kind of shown me that I didn't really think anything was permanent in the first place, but definitely now nothing is permanent. So I think, yeah, that element of nothing being permanent, and also like everything I take for granted, or that we take for granted in terms of like biological aspects, have changed. I think those are the two main things that my course have definitely changed my viewpoint.
Wow.
Yeah, I love HSPS so
Wow.
much. It's brilliant. I could talk about this the whole show.
When you speak about it. So, you know, and as a young person as well, you know, you're going to be contributing to
the
Definitely.
But yeah, it's really, really, really interesting. You just learn about so much, like race as well, and how that's a social construct. But again, like how it was rooted in biology, but it's actually not real, but it has real implications. HSPS, it's like.
I think you've got quite a few books in you, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
I think you have. Right, my closing question for Patricia is going to be, this is a bit controversial now. You were born a man, what would your job, what would your career have been?
That's a pretty question.
Yeah. Because you've got no responsibility, have you? You're not going to have any childcare issues, or you're not going to have any time off because you don't have a baby. You know, what ideally you could be any career you wanted. What would you have done?
Actually, my as you say that, the career, I guess, that I have or I'm going through is actually quite male dominated. So I'd probably still be doing the same thing.
Wow.
So, you know, again, going back to buildings and property, so project management, it's, you know, mainly males.
Yeah, same with me. I didn't have very, we were not looked down on, but it was just like, you're a woman, why are you here?
Yeah, I mean, I have had a couple of instances, but just to focus on your question. So I think maybe instead of being like a client-side project manager, like working with housing associations or in councils, etc., I probably would have been on the construction sites. Still project manager, but I'd probably be construction. So I probably would have, and because I don't like, actually it's not, I've never thought about this, but
it's not a normal question.
Yeah, but because like going back to the fact that I said that I didn't really like studying, I probably would have gone through an apprenticeship.
Yes.
And then I probably would have like progressed through the ranks, and I probably would have been like something really senior in the construction industry. If I were a man. I mean, are we factoring race into this as well?
No, you're just a man.
Okay,
just a man.
Yeah, so I think that still would have been my path. Maybe I still would have. No, I wouldn't have studied building surveying because I would have had all of that construction knowledge already.
Yeah.
So I don't think I would have gone into party wall surveying. I just think my life would have been all about construction all the way through.
Yeah, I think mine would have been similar.
Yeah, and like who knows?
A builder, carpenter, and gone that route.
Yeah. So and I assume, because I always used to say I'm not very technical.
Yeah.
So
you'd learn it, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So so I'm not saying that as a man I would be more technically minded, but there's a lot of stuff on the course that I didn't think I was capable of doing. Like for example, we use a program called Revit, which is related to AutoCAD, which you use to design. And like, you know, I've never designed anything in my life. And like going through, and I actually like, you know, completed the task and, you know, designed a house extension and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think my life would be that different, just like more entrenched in what it is. Yeah. Because there's the thing as well, it's like just going, you know, from where I was to where I am now. You know, I've had like gone through like imposter syndrome, and I've let that get to the point where it actually affected me in the workplace kind of thing, and then I had to take like kind of like a sideways step to like go back and learn the things that I felt like I didn't know, so that I could be more confident in what I was doing going forward. And I think maybe as a man, I don't know this for sure, but I think maybe as a man I probably would have just pushed past that. And I don't know if men take sideways steps if they feel like they're lacking something. I don't know if that's a thing. They always talk about, you know, that women we feel like we need to meet like 75% or something of a job description before we even go for it. Whereas a man, you're just like, I don't know if they take a punt, but it's like, that looks alright. So maybe I would be just like, I don't know, something just like doing way more and just way bigger and more well known in what I do, I think is where I probably would have been.
Yeah.
So
My parents wanted 3 boys, they got 3 girls. So.
that sounds like my aunt. She's like, she, I think Uncle Phil wanted like a girl, and then I think my aunt just said, after 3 boys, let's stop now.
Wow.
That kind of thing.
Well, thank you, ladies, for coming out. I love this interview.
Yeah.
This is really good. You've been lovely as well, and it's been nice to see your relationship as well. And it's good. You're very lucky to have your mum. Very lucky to have that mum. You are. You are.
Ditto.
That's nice.
Yeah.